Hi guys, I'm Elle and welcome back to another video. Today I'm just going to be having a discussion about the lack of empathy created by social media over the previous years. I think especially kind of since lockdown, there's been a huge outburst of negativity and in specific lack of empathy, as we're going to be discussing. So yeah. I just wanted to say, I know all of my videos so far have actually been about social media in some kind of sense. I'm sorry if that's a bit tedious, but clearly it's a topic I'm quite passionate about and I think deserves a lot of attention. So, what is empathy? Empathy is defined as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. You know, this can be seen in going to your friends with a problem or your feelings and they sympathise with you and offer, you know, company or help or a solution or comfort. Or it can be seen in you helping another person. I don't know where that might be. That might be in a million ways, you know, giving some money to a homeless person or watching one of those TikToks for a minute so that people can profit from it to go towards a good cause, or donating to something online, or even, like I said, helping your friends with one of their problems, offering them a solution or comfort. I think empathy is really just putting yourself in someone's shoes and then acting accordingly from that and showing kindness and positivity, because, you know, as maybe cringy or as I don't know what the word is, like stereotypical or cheesy as it might sound, kindness doesn't cost anything, and I think you can always try and sympathise with someone and show your empathy. So like I said, I think the lack of empathy and the rise in negativity has really shown itself, especially since COVID. I think people were stuck inside during the lockdown and they stopped remembering who was on the other side of the screen and that they were actually talking to other people, and it had such a negative effect on people that they had to express that somehow, and social media and being online was kind of people's only way to express that. So this kind of thing can be seen very easily. You know, you can open a TikTok comment section and there's immediately backhanded compliments or, you know, insulting jokes or offensive jokes or literally anything of that nature. I think there is always negativity in at least one comment section that I've seen. I don't think I've ever seen one comment section that was completely full of positivity without a creator policing it and deleting comments and filtering things. I think, like I said, it's gotten very difficult for people to see the person on the other side of the screen and think about who they're talking to and think about where their emotions are being sent. I think they'd focus on, you know, expressing their feelings and expressing their most likely unwarranted hatred, and as soon as that's out they scroll along and they don't care and they don't think about the fact that someone out there is going to have to receive all that hatred. And I've said this to my friends before in, you know, offering them advice and stuff. People's minds are like sponges, and your, you know, like your feelings and stuff like that, you are like a sponge. So if your friend comes to you and they're saying, I'm really stressed about this, you in that moment are absorbing all of that stress, and you also need to be squeezed out so you can, what's the word, like expel all of that negativity that you absorb. So people expel that and then other people absorb it, and I think it also makes people feel worse even if they're not the direct receiver of the negativity. Like if I open a TikTok comment section and I see insults or I see bullying or I see just, I don't even know, any negativity, obviously I go, oh, like that's not what I was expecting, and it doesn't make me feel too great either, because it just is that constant reminder that negativity exists and the people that have the ability to say those things and to make you feel that way do exist. I think this is really evident in things like when people will be saying their experience online and people will be like, oh, what do you want me to do about it? Like, or, you know, they'll blame the person and they'll come up with a way to find something negative about the situation. That's the thing, a lot of the time nothing's even happening. These people just really will like find the negativity on purpose for something to be angry about, because they are angry people and they want to feel that way. They want to hate because that's a way for them to expel all the anger and the sadness that they feel. So they will find a way to hate even if there's nothing to hate on. You know, people say womp womp when people have like come online to be vulnerable and share their own feelings. And I think that's probably one of the most disgusting things online today, one of the most disgusting kind of trends, I suppose, or like sensations, is the trivialization of people's feelings and the fact that people are called snowflakes or crybabies or anything like that when they have genuine issues that they care about and they're passionate about. You know, there's the whole thing of people saying, I don't want to be the friend that's too woke, but I think this is an issue, or call me sensitive, but, and it's like, no, don't like soften the blow for people who are going to disagree with you. Don't, you know, preface this by saying that, oh, I'm aware that people might think that this is an issue, so like don't make a joke or trivialize your own passions and your own problems. If you think that it's an issue, then it's an issue, you know. I saw a post the other day about the Minecraft movie, someone saying, oh, not to be that woke friend, but I think it's quite ridiculous how, spoilers, sorry, but in the Minecraft movie the two female characters are kind of left the whole time and like the boys get all the action. And it's like, if that is something that someone genuinely noticed and went, I'm not sure if that's okay, I'm not sure if I like that, you are not like being the woke friend, you're just raising an issue. And if people don't agree with you, that's fine. It doesn't make you too woke and it doesn't make you too sensitive. It just makes them different to you, you know? Maybe it makes them less sensitive, and that's okay, but it's not okay if they then turn that into negativity. Things like if people go through something traumatic or are having an emotional moment and maybe they post it online and people say, oh, your first thought was to record. Okay, maybe to some people that doesn't make sense. It doesn't necessarily make sense to me, but I've definitely posted, you know, videos on other accounts on TikTok where I'm maybe venting or I have something that I feel like I need to say, and it's like an outlet for people. And if you're bringing negativity into that space, you're taking away someone's outlet and someone's safe space for them to get out their feelings and to turn their negatives into positives. You know, you are bringing that dark energy, that negativity into those spaces where people are trying to just be themselves and feel their way through their emotions. A lot of the time, maybe recording yourself in one of those moments, I've never actively recorded myself when I've been in an emotional moment, but maybe for some people that means that they can look back at it and see how far they've come once they've healed, or they can break down what was happening in that moment, seeing it back when they've got a clearer headspace. Because in an emotional moment, it's so difficult for you to work through what you're feeling because there's so much going on. So maybe after you've moved on from it, or after you've, you know, kind of calmed down and you're in a bit of a better headspace, you can look back at a video or look back at your thoughts if you've written them down or voice noted them or whatever, and you can say, oh, okay, now I know why I was feeling like that, but I didn't get that at first because I wasn't in a clear headspace. And like I said, bringing negativity into those spaces and into those online kind of safe havens for people can destroy people's safety and their places to be vulnerable online, and it turns other people into the same negative people that bring that there in the first place, you know? Like, people that, it's seen so often, if people leave a hate comment and the person who posted it retaliates, they have every right to retaliate, maybe not negatively, but they have every right to be upset about it. And if they say something back that's negative, then they're like the bad guy, and then they're the negative one. And yeah, you did say something negative, but they were provoked in the first place. And I think people really have no understanding anymore, and no kindness, and no like grace for the way that people feel or who people are. There's a state that we study in psychology called de-individuation, which is when a person is in a group and they kind of lose their like sense of self. They're in this scenario, a group setting, and they start to kind of lose their personal identity, and they start to engage in behaviour and display behaviour that they might not have done if they were on their own. And I think that is a huge thing online, because you are technically in this big group. No one knows who you are. You're anonymous. So when people lose that kind of outward sense of self, they lose the inner sense of self. Because if you were sat across from someone, you know, at a bar or like at school or something like that, you might not to their face make these negative comments. You probably wouldn't. And if you would, then I hate to say it, that makes you a pretty bad person. But you might not make these negative comments to a person's face. And the fact that you would online does, you know, kind of says a lot about the stability of your morals and your beliefs and who you are as a person. I also think, like I said, when alongside like the trivialization of feelings also has also come the kind of, I suppose, the trivialization of jokes, and the fact that you don't know how someone is receiving that, so they might not find it funny. To a person's face, if you make a joke, even if it's a bit of an insulting one or a bit of like a, you know, might be pushing the boundary a bit, if you make a joke to someone's face, you can see how they respond to that. So you can go, oh wait, if you didn't like think that was funny, like I'm really sorry, I can take it back, like I didn't, that's completely my bad. And you can amend the situation. But if you make a joke to someone online or in their comment section or anything like that, you don't know how they're going to take that actively in that moment and how they're going to respond. And you can't amend that situation if they respond badly. If they get upset, or if it, you know, touches a nerve for them or anything like that, you don't know that. And it's like, it's turned jokes even into a less serious thing, because jokes obviously by definition aren't supposed to be serious, but they can still hit close to home for some people, and jokes can definitely cause upset. And face to face, like I said, you can see how that person reacts, and they have the opportunity to tell you that it upset them. But if you comment a joke and then you scroll, you could have done damage to that person that they might not let go of for a long time. And that also goes along kind of what I mentioned about like backhanded compliments and insults and things. When you go in a person's comments and people are like, oh, maybe I'm the problem, or oh, this is not what I expected the comment section to be, or I'm so glad everyone passed the vibe check, or I'm so glad no one's hating. You're letting it known that you expected people to be hating, which means that you then, even if you're not saying it out loud, you are hating. People that leave backhanded comments or things that, you know, look nice but they're not, or aren't outright hating, kind of give off the vibe, at least I think, that they think they're kind of above these other people, because I'm not actually directly hating, like I'm trying to say something sweet, you know. It's like on a video of someone where people say, oh, I love your confidence, you're not complimenting them. Like, that's not a compliment, because that's inherently making it sound like they need to be confident to do what they're doing or look how they look or anything like that, when that person is just existing. I also think it makes people feel worse in the sense that this lack of empathy also causes almost like a lack of forgiveness. It makes people think that, it kind of brings back the discussion of people jumping to conclusions. I spoke about this in my losing long-term friendships video, where people see one behaviour and they say you're a narcissist or you have a superiority complex or anything like that. I think that kind of behaviour can also, on kind of the other side of it, bring on a feeling that people need to go like above and beyond to apologise. So then it makes people feel like they can't be forgiven. And I think if people see other people in the situations they've been in, and then people in the comments are having no empathy for it and stuff like that, they're starting to then think, maybe I shouldn't have forgiven this person, or maybe I shouldn't be forgiven because I did this to a person. And I think if people aren't having that empathy and aren't comforting a person or aren't giving their thoughts, then it allows a person to kind of like spiral and overthink, and it brings back situations and thoughts that they might have moved on from previously. I think one of the huge uses of social media, and one of like the point of social media in a way, in some senses, is for people to collaborate in not necessarily an emotional way, because I don't necessarily believe that anyone is ever fully honest on social media, but in a slightly more vulnerable way, in the sense that people can share their experiences and share the types of people they've dealt with or share the types of feelings that they've gone through, and other people seeing that can also then share their experiences, and it makes people feel less alone. And people in the comments devaluing that and making it like an issue just for that person makes other people feel like they can't talk about their problems and their feelings, and that makes them feel worse. And I just think that's awful. There's not a lot to say about it, if I'm honest, other than the lack of empathy that's shown in social media and across the internet is genuinely a worrying kind of phenomenon. Like, even acts of kindness are devalued and are, you know, made a mockery of. And then it makes people feel like they shouldn't even do that anymore. Or if people, what's an example I can use? Say people see like a couple, a boyfriend and girlfriend, or girlfriend and girlfriend, whatever, two partners, and people put in the comments, how did she do that? How did he do that then? How did they bag them? Who are you? Who do you think you are to make those kind of comments and those kind of evaluations about people you don't even know? They're people on social media, when they post, are sharing a part of themselves with you, whether they are like doing a silly dance, or they're being really raw and emotional, or they're making a skit video. They are sharing something that they've put time and effort into, even if it's 10 seconds, even if it's 15 seconds, even if it's 5 hours. They have put time and effort into that one piece of content to create it, most likely because it's something they're passionate about. And if your first thought is to devalue it and to insult it, then I think there needs to be a huge kind of step taken there. Obviously, I have no idea how this kind of thing could be policed. I wish I could have some kind of discussion on that, on how, you know, negative comments and stuff could be better policed, because they are not policed well enough now. Even with blocking and muting and comment filtering, it still is not enough. But there has to be some better way about it, and I wish I knew what that was. So like I got a bit annoyed there. But I would also just like to talk about kind of the bright side of social media and what you can do if you feel like all hope is lost, because trust me, it really does feel like that sometimes. There are a million other uses for social media that aren't negative and that won't bring negativity. It just really has to do with putting the time and the effort into making a safe, positive, creative space online, and having to build up the skin that is thick enough to ignore any kind of semblance of insults or negativity, which is a really difficult thing to do, especially if when you first come into an online space you are in a dark headspace. A lot of people use online worlds as an escape because, like I said, it opens up a whole other life for people to be able to be understood and to have people empathize with them and to share their experiences and to listen to other people's experiences, and it makes people feel so much less alone. And when people come in with negativity, obviously it kind of ruins that space. So it is to do with being resilient and really building up that kind of brain power, the willpower, the emotional maturity to see those things and move on and understand that that person is miserable in themselves. I know this is the same kind of thing that everyone says, but everyone says it because it's so true. People who express negativity and leave negativity when it is unwarranted, uncalled for, and like unnecessary are miserable in themselves. And you probably have something that they're jealous of, or you have something that they see in themselves that they don't like, and that is nothing to do with you and it is everything to do with them. I think one of the main uses for social media should be creating positive spaces. Obviously that is a big use of social media already, but I think we should create positive spaces in order to combat the negativity that has been brought into other positive spaces. There should always be backups and there should always be other resources for people, and there are so many resources out there. But it's making sure people know that. I'm sure there's a quote somewhere that says something about being the positivity or being the change you want to see in the world, which is so true. And that doesn't even have to be a big crazy thing. If you walk past someone on the street and you tell them you like their outfit, you are doing one thing to then counteract another bit of negativity that they've probably already encountered in their day or are going to encounter. And that's the same with leaving a positive comment on someone's social media. You know, these things can be in real life and they can be online. I think engaging in positivity in both of those spaces is very important, and it's also very important to not get sucked into a spiral of negativity, especially online. It's much easier to step out of it when it's a real life scenario, but when it's online it can be so easy to, you know, respond back or read all the other comments and, you know, look at other people's videos and then see the negativity there, and it's so easy to get stuck in that kind of loop. So I think having, like I said, the mental strength to know when it's getting to that point and to be able to take yourself back out of it is so important. It's kind of like I spoke about in my last video where I mentioned not engaging with negative media when you're already in a bad headspace. Again, I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but like I said, having the strength and having the understanding of yourself and your own mental well-being to be able to stop that before it becomes an issue, like to quit while you're ahead basically, is so important. So yeah, there's not much else I have to say on the subject. I know that was kind of my video. This is the same length as my other videos, but that feels like it went way quicker. Like I said in my last video, if there's anything you want me to discuss or anything you'd like to see discussed, let me know, or any types of videos you want me to do, let me know. Thank you so much for all of your love and support so far. I really hope you are having a wonderful day or night, and yeah, okay, you are amazing and you are so worthy of everything you have and more. I love you. Bye-bye.